Hi there guys, today we're looking at side control, the attacks from the top. So in side control, you have a number of attacks presenting themselves to you. It can be either pursued after, where you initiate a pathway to the attack, or it can be a reactive attack. The person does something to escape and you capitalize and attack them thereafter. The first one we're going to look at is when we're pursuing the attack from the orthodox side control position. Hey guys, the first thing is I'm in the orthodox side control position. I've got a nice bite on his far armpit. I've got his hips locked in. I've got my knee isolating his top hand. To familiarize yourself with these positions, watch our previous video on side control so that you can know exactly what position that we're in. The first attack so we can look at from an orthodox side control position is the attacks on the far arm. Now these attacks can come by me pursuing them, going after them directly without having much of a reaction from the bottom person. The first one is the Americana or the shoulder lock. In pursuing this particular type of submission, I've got to free my rear hand. I've got to bring it around the head so that I've got my elbow onto the far side of the opponent's neck and ear. This hand is the hand we will be attacking. Generally, if used to frame against our head or our neck, I'm going to take my chin and my forehead and duck it into the arm to peel it away from me. Thereafter, my hands will be involved and I can use my entire body, forehead and arms to pin the hand away. Going high on the wrist, keeping my elbow tucked into the neck, I keep the back of the hand flat on the floor. I cannot finish an Americana, guys, with the arm off the floor. We want to have it flat on the mat, the back of his hand flat on the mat. My hand comes around, figure 4 grips. Every time, I swear, if you trust me, God, chance down, how many grips? Boy, I'm talking here. True, I promise you. Actually, it's a good idea. From this position, once I've locked up the figure 4 grip, right hand grabs the wrist, left hand comes under and grabs my own wrist. Thumb and fingers must be on the same side, guys, when you're grabbing your wrist. You pick up the elbow and you paint the floor with the back of the opponent's hand. You draw a straight line down to his toes. One can also switch their hips here. So bring your left hip in, finish it here, or one can switch their hips inwards into what we look at as a common reverse scarf position and finish the attack from that position. When you attack the straight Americana, often guys will straighten their hand to prevent you from being able to finish that shoulder lock. We will then switch this position into a straight armbar. We do this by taking our forearm and placing it below the opponent's elbow, creating a fulcrum. Scoot out backward. Once my forearm is underneath the elbow, keeping the hand off the floor so that we have a space to compress the arm into, I'm going to grab my own wrist and my hand on the top side is going to grab the opponent's wrist. I'm pushing down the top hand and flexing the bottom hand to get the straight armbar. The positioning of your forearm is very important. You can't have it on the forearm of the opponent, nor can you have it on the bicep. It must be placed directly under the opponent's elbow. Thereafter, lock up your grip and get to finish. When attacking the armbar, you may find the opponent pull his hand in towards him, so he'll roll it outwards and he'll look to bend the arm in that direction so that I can't attack the arm lock any longer. Our counter thereafter, as he pulls it in, is to switch my grip. The outside hand hooks underneath and comes to the inside. My hand that was on the inside of the hip controls the wrist and I put on a figure 4 grip. Now, we want to maintain the 90-degree bend in the opponent's arm. We're going to finish the Kimura by switching our hips towards him into what would look like a scarf position with our kickstand up. We're going to raise the elbow and we're going to begin to take his arm up in a circle towards his head. One can also step over the head if possible, or if you want to be nasty, take your shin across the opponent's face and then finish it thereafter. Some guys will sit their opponents up from this position. They'll bring them here, sit them up, and then finish the Kimura in an upright position. Whatever takes your fancy at that moment. I want to recap that one more time. He straightens the arm. He pulls it in. Notice, guys, how my head plays a pivotal role in being able to manipulate the arm when I'm attacking it. Now, these attacks were all done on the far side arm. We can also attack the opponent on the near side arm, the arm that is closest to us. Generally, the attack that becomes the easiest to go for from this position would be our arm bars or our arm triangles. How would I initiate an arm bar from this position? Firstly, I could isolate this elbow. I do that by running my hip into J-frame, taking my knee sliding up his back so that his elbow is now secured between my hip, my knee, and my arm. Few ways to finish this particular arm bar. The one way is I posture up, step over his head, and I wrap around his elbow with my arm, getting my forearm placed directly behind his elbow, the fulcrum point. I extend my hips forward and get the finish. I could at this point release the grip, sit back, and go for an orthodox armbar finish. Remember, the key to this particular finish is having the leg control the head. It doesn't matter if this knee is caught under the far armpit, I can still finish the attack. Okay, let's just shift your body slightly, please. You can see different angle, by the way. We're now going to look at very typical reactions on attacking the opponent's arms or neck. The first reaction you will encounter is on the far side, is when the opponent looks to cross-face and get the underhook. An underhook, if not dealt with early, can be a problem. The opponent on the bottom can escape utilizing it. However, if we can read the escape coming, we can isolate the elbow and run into a series of attacks off his basic defense of the bottom. So if I'm in Orthodox Side Control, the opponent looks to first cross-face and create space for the underhook. Now, the underhook, if left unchecked, will get him out of a bad position. However, as soon as I feel his elbow coming through, I want to jam down and I want to kill the actual elbow itself. So my hand is going to come around the elbow and it's going to cinch into play. I make a circle around the forearm and the tricep of the opponent. From here, the attacks are numerous. I've managed to detect this pretty early. So what I can do is, as he turns it towards me, I step over his head. I figure four the hand, my outside hand comes around, and I figure four grip around the arm to the inside, grab my own wrist, and secure my wrist. With the figure four, I keep the elbow to my chest, I pull his hand away from him, and rotate the hand to the rear to get the finish. One can also finish this attack by switching it into an armbar. Simply step up on your inside leg, pivot inwards, the knee coming to the armpit, fall onto your back, extend the hand. So again, follow the frame. Come close towards the wall. Towards the wall. Come on, switch, eh? Towards me. You turn in. Sorry. Zoom out slightly around.
Ring film.
Yeah. Go.
What's up?
If I detect the arm triangle, if I detect the underhook a bit later on, I can begin to attack what is known as our DAS. Now the DAS choke originates at the armpit and exits at the head. I'm in the position, the opponent puts in his frame and he goes for an underhook. As he begins to attack, the underhook is quite deep. So what I need to do here, number one, okay, before he gets up on his elbow, I'm going to take my hand and I'm going to whizzer, bring it around his hand. I'm going to get up onto my feet. Now my hand is reaching for the space between his head and his shoulder. I want to get up onto my feet, my bum in the air, and I want to make a circle. You'll notice his arm is trapped under my arm. I will not be able to connect my grip onto my bicep because his hands are in the way. So I get rid of that arm by getting on my bum and cutting a semicircle. I walk towards the head, the hand collapses in, and thereafter my arm comes through. As soon as my arm comes through, I gable grip, I cinch my top elbow through in towards me, making his neck and shoulder a smaller circumference to cover, shoot my hand in, grab my bicep, keep the 90-degree on him, and then drive my chest straight into his neck to get the finish. Then drive my chest straight into his neck to get the finish, whilst applying the RNC grip to his neck. Let's do it on the other side. Just towards the left. I want you to use the hand. Here, come through. Start again. You don't move from that. Go. To get an extra bit of perch on my bicep, I can always pull his head towards me, bringing his ear to his shoulder, making it easy for me to lock up on my bicep, getting my chest into play and getting the finish. These are very typical reactions and attacks that we can employ if the guy tries to underhook and escape from the far side. Some guys will frame on the inside and try and turn away from you. This will also lead us into another series of attacks, namely the arm triangle and the arm bar. So if I had Chad in an orthodox side control position, what he may do is take the hand that's closest to my hip, bring it to the inside of my shoulder and look to turn away. Now this may put him in turtle, and then from turtle he might make his way into a better position. As we feel this happening, the first thing we can do, if the elbow is on our neck in the form of a frame, is take my outside shoulder and point it inwards, just to clear it slightly, giving me enough space to hide my ear behind his elbow. My hands have to be doing something. The hand on the inside will shoot through, and the bicep will connect to the side of the opponent's neck. From here, I want to bring my temple to his head, and I want to make sure that this arm doesn't slip back in front of me, because then I've lost the arm triangle. So my temple needs to close off that space. I want to bring my head inwards. I can even take my hand and grab his armpit whilst I do this. Slide your head down towards his shoulder and place your forehead on the mat. You can utilize a gable grip or a bicep grip from this particular position. As my head comes down to the mat, I will make a half circle with my elbow. I will collapse to the inside of my hip. My knee on the inside will be wedged up against Chad's hip, so he can't follow me as I begin to finish the arm triangle. So I connect, head comes down, my knee blocks, and I fall to my left hip. I then slowly make a semicircle with my elbow, move my hips away, drive my shoulder in to get the finish. Again, got a frame there. So one more time, Chaddy, sorry, but squeezing too hard there. You see the light for a second.
No, I just thought my arm became up and down.
Sorry. do that again. Pushing the inside. Alright, he turns away, no problem. Clear. Put in the head, secure the biceps. See how I can place his head into play with my hand. Temple to temple. Push his shoulder deep. I can hold the bicep. I can hold the armpit if needs be. Connect my hands, drive down, open up, turn in, get the finish. See your legs. Away. Japanese technology. It's actually normally very good. It keeps adjusting its light to what it seems. So if it sees the black shirt, it'll darken. If it sees the white, it lightens. Alright guys, those are some very basic attacks from the Orthodox Side Control position. You can either pursue them, or you can wait for the reaction and then look for your attacks, either on the near side or on the far side. There's one we forgot. The arm bar. So away. The second attack from the near side, guys, if the person frames and begins to turn away from you, is they're presenting to us their near side arm. This very simple attack involves me locking up the shoulder by bringing my knee up to his head side, locking up into a figure 4 grip, circling my leg around the head, sitting back, and thereafter shifting my grip higher to the wrist by sliding my forearm up. Alright? But when I slide my forearm up, I use both my hands to help. Once we reach the top of the lever, both hands go to the wrist. We fall back, one across the face, one blocking the armpit. I can, if I so feel that it would be of benefit to this position, pull the leg out and place it across to provide an extra bit of support. I can, if I would like to, pull this leg out, bring it across his chest to provide a little bit more support, sit back, control the wrist, and then attack the arm on the near side. One more time. Guy turns away from us, he frames, no problem. We're going to wrap the hand, figure 4, bring our knees close to his head, step around, sit back, both knees together, both knees facing up, hands go to the wrist, I pull my heels tight towards my butt, my knees come together, I fall back, and I get the basic armbar. Like any armbar, make sure your bum, guys, is glued nice and close to his shoulder. There's no gap between you and your opponent. Put your in, turn around. Away. That's it. Thanks guys, that concludes your attacks from the Orthodox Side Control position. Be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next video. Thank you, Cherry. Guys, pick up anything.